it also made me wonder what else we could accomplish together.
I'm not going back to being your familiar.
I'm not talking about you being my familia, Guillermo. Look, I will always be killing people because I'm a vampire, it's what we do. But what if I was more picky? If I used my powers for good, to bring justice to this unjust world?
Oh, you mean like Batman?
I don't know who that is. But also, I was thinking, why not create a secret underground lair? And I would have my very own young sidekick.
Like Robin?
I don't think robbing people is a good idea.
I don't know.
You don't know. You do know. This is why we've been brought together. It's not for me to make you a fucking vampire. Fuck all that shit. But for us to create an unbreakable alliance to help people in this broken society. Some shit like that. Face it, Guillermo. You're never gonna be just a normal human guy. You don't belong with them. You belong with us.
But I'm not a vampire.
No, you're not. You're something even cooler. You are a warrior.
Hello, all. Welcome back to What's On Tonight, a podcast with elaborate, quirky, and unpredictable conversations about TV, movies, and more. I'm Becky.
And I'm Mandy.
Tonight, we are covering What We Do in the Shadows, Season 6, Episode 10, titled The Promotion. Please note, this is a spoiler-filled podcast, so if you haven't watched the episode yet and don't want to be spoiled, just come on back and check us out after you've finished. Mandy, what is this episode about?
The vampires go to an office party to celebrate Guillermo's promotion.
First impressions of the episode. I think they did a phenomenal job of closing out the Canon Capital storyline, except for not getting a decapitated Jordan. And they did give one of the most moving scenes of the series. I legit was in tears at the end of the episode. This felt like a season finale or series finale to me. So I'm not quite sure how they're going to wrap it up, but I really enjoyed this episode. Like last week, it was really great getting the whole main cast together for a whole episode. I'm hoping that maybe this final one will just be a tribute to the viewers and we get just a great, however long, 22 minutes of everything that's made the show great. Just a bunch of fun comedy. But I give this 5 Lisa heads out of 5.
That was one of my highlights of the show was Lisa Head. I honestly, out of all of the episodes this season, it's not one of my favorites, but I don't even think that was necessarily the point of this. This episode felt like a part 1 of a part 2. Like, I feel like there's still a lot for them to wrap up. So a lot of this episode, it wasn't that it was a bad episode. It just felt like it was building up to the series finale to me. I didn't feel like it was a finale. I felt like it was a lot of exposition before the finale gets here, I guess. There was a lot of it, like, unlike the last 2 or 3 episodes where there were just a million laugh out loud moments, there were a lot of really good moments in this, but it felt more like it was laying the groundwork for something as opposed to just an episode in and of itself. Not that there weren't still a lot of really, really funny moments and things that I enjoyed very, very much, including, I do wish that there had been a much more thorough bloodbath with Canon Capital. We can still keep our fingers crossed that that's in the works, but
it could still happen. Who knows?
Yeah. I definitely wanted to see Jordan splatter the walls with his entrails.
You know, it's funny. When I was writing my notes last night, I got through all my notes. And then today when I went to type him up, I had written him as Jacob the entire note taking. And I was like, who is Jacob? So I had to go back and fix all that, but it made me laugh.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, Jordan, I'm certain that they picked that from Jordan Belfort from Wolf of Wall Street. And it's just a perfect, no offense to Eric's brother, but it's a perfect name for that character.
So we start out the episode with the little montage of Guillermo's fitting in at work. And I thought it was really sweet to see him happy. But what of all that they showed, him trying to eat the rice with the chopsticks, and getting like one piece in his mouth.
That was funny.
How I feel eating with chopsticks, but I do it anyway.
Yeah, I don't eat anything that's, or should, in my opinion, be put in a spoon. I don't even try with chopsticks. But there's sushi that if it's way too unwieldy, I'm like, no, I'm just going to look like a hog and just pick the whole thing up with my hands and shove it into the sludge that I make with the wasabi and the soy sauce. I don't even try anymore with it. I'm pretty good with chopsticks, but I'm not trying to eat rice with it.
I get it.
What I thought about that beginning part with Guillermo was that he had really come into his own douchebaggery in that first montage there. Like you could see them kind of calling back to when he was playing handball with Jordan or racquetball with Jordan before, when he was kind of sucking it up and Jordan was dominating him. And instead in this one, he's pissing Jordan off because he's actually winning. And, the last episode, last few episodes when we talked about, how timid Guillermo was with the cursing, and he wasn't really, it wasn't very natural for him. And he just didn't have that same kind of douchey vibe that all of his coworkers had, even though he was trying desperately to fit in. But you can tell in that beginning montage that Guillermo has really leaned into the whole vibe of Canon Capital. He's cussing, much more fluently. He's high-fiving and making the shitty jokes with his coworkers and just generally acting like an asshole and fitting right in. You could tell he's fitting right in with the group now in a way that he wasn't in the past episodes.
Yeah, he was being a douche, but I just seeing him genuinely happy makes me happy because he's had such little joy for this entire time with these vampires.
And that is the thing that I love the most about this episode, was that storyline really came full circle with Guillermo finally getting the recognition. And I don't want it to jump too far ahead, but actually coming to the conclusion that he did not want to be one of these people, seeing them for what they were and standing up to Nandor for all of the years that he didn't get the recognition that he deserved, and finally getting that recognition. So that's why I say that it's felt like a part, because there were definitely things in this episode that felt like they were a finale of certain plot lines that have been going along for the last 6 years. But I just feel like there's still a lot out there that's unresolved. And I'm really excited about next week. Did you see a preview?
There was not one. There is a very short synopsis on the episode guide if you look, but there was not. I watched till the very last second.
Okay, good. Then I don't feel like I missed too much.
You didn't. No, I think you saw everything.
All right, right on.
So back to the episode when Guillermo comes to tell them that there's this party being thrown in his honor and they're so mean to him. And Laszlo is asking, so you want us to come? We're coming as your friend or someone else's? And Colin Robinson says someone else's would be better.
They say someone else's feels better.
Oh, feels better.
Yeah. Like, what does that even mean? Like, it just feels more natural to be friends with someone else.
To not be friends with Guillermo.
God love him. Even Colin is crapping on poor Guillermo.
He gets no love, and not just like, I'll go, but I'm going as an employee of Canon Capital, not your friend. And then Nandor also says he's going to go as a former employee and giving himself the title of Chief Supreme Janitor. And Guillermo's like, pretty sure you're just a regular janitor. And Nandor's like, don't worry, I'm not going to be triggered.
By being there. A couple of things about that scene before they got there. Well, first, I want to go back a little bit, like what what Guillermo's finally done that seems to have won him a little bit of respect from the office and Jordan, and is he has given them some information about shorting an acquisition that they're about to take over. And I had to look up what short is because I don't speak what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for when you speak a language really well? It's just completely left my head.
Fluent.
Good Lord. Anyway, I don't speak fluent douchebag, so I had to look up what a short was. And it is where you are pretty certain that a company is going to lose value soon. So you go ahead and snap up stock and then you sell it, hopefully at a premium, and make a profit off of it before it tanks. So that's what he did. So he has basically gone in and it's a little bit shady what he has done, but he has made them some money by giving them some inside information where they were able to make a good profit snapping up this poor business that was about to go under. Anyway, that was just something I looked up because I didn't know.
I have to say this because had we made a rule not to talk about the show before we podcast about it, you would have gotten a phone call from me because there's the scene where Laszlo wants to trot Monster out like a show horse. And I didn't like that's one of the biggest things I did not like about this episode. I don't like it when they make Laszlo be the mean guy or like that dominant. I didn't care for his attitude towards the monster, but it did give us some great Colin Robinson moments. But when they're going back and forth about him taking the monster, and Nadja insists that if the monster is going to go, he has to wear his trousers. And Laszlo says, "Not tonight, Josephine," which I know came from Napoleon, because back in the day, Napoleon could not keep up with Josephine, his wife's sexual energies. And so that's where that came from.
Well, I Googled that too.
I didn't Google it. I knew it.
How did you know that?
It's the saying that I've heard countless times before, and I knew it.
That's so funny.
That's why I wanted to call you.
Well, look at
Be
you.
like, I knew something.
I didn't. I did notice later on in the episode when Laszlo says something to the effect of, "I could give a monkeys about that." And I thought, is that like a saying in England? And then when he said, "Not tonight, Josephine," I thought the same thing. I noticed that there were a lot of like little Britishisms in here. So I Googled it because I had never heard that before. And apparently there's like a novelty song that came out in England in the 1900s that it was really popular, that a lot of British people grew up. So it's a much more popular saying over there. And I could give a monkey's. It's kind of like I could give a rat's ass or I could give a monkey's ass or whatever, but they just say give a monkey's over there. So yeah, there were a lot of fun Laszlo had a lot of fun little Britishisms in there tonight. I'm going to miss those.
That's the only one I picked up on. So you can educate me on the others. I was just really excited.
Did you notice, though, that after we've been talking about how they haven't really been going out of their way to do
They had a
lot,
pillow on her belly
to hide Nadja's. Oh, she was carrying boxes. She was sitting at desks.
Yeah.
She was holding pillows in front of her. So clearly she got to that point of her pregnancy where it was just there was no way to hide it. And not hiding it would have made it seem even weirder, I imagine.
Well, it was fun while it lasted.
Yeah, she had a lot of freedom, a lot more than most pregnant actresses do. So now we move on to they're going to the party. And
wait. Before we get to the party, Colin Robinson helping the monster get dressed was precious. And
storyline was very sweet.
And I could see exactly where this was headed, almost exactly where this was headed when he's like, "But do you want to go?" And of course, the monster's been programmed to want to please Laszlo, and Laszlo wants him to go, so he's going. And Colin's like, "We don't have to go. We could stay home and watch the United States of Terra."
It's such a random thing.
It is such a random thing, but that is a phenomenal TV show.
Oh, yeah, I watched it years ago. No, I love it. It's Toni Collette, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love her. She's a great actress. Yeah, it's been a while, but I recall that everything she does is good, and I recall that was a really, really good TV show. Have we already passed the part where Laszlo said he was far smarter than Nandor, and Nandor goes, "What the fuck?"
I can't believe I skipped that.
He's always catching strays. Poor Nandor. He isn't the brightest bulb on the Christmas tree, but yeah, I don't know that he deserved that.
He took hold of my heart this episode. But I like the back to the monster and Colin Robinson. I like the continuation of the story of Colin Robinson really wanting a friend. I think he's accepting of the fact that he's not ever going to have a normal relationship. But I think he and the monster end up at the end of the episode. I think it's Colin Robinson's a great dad. And it was a great callback to the way Laszlo was with Colin Robinson when we had baby Colin Robinson. I think he did absorb that.
Yeah, and also kind of Colin getting to come full circle from the episode with Laszlo's dad, where he was the one that was really wanting acceptance and tolerance. And That's why I don't really have a hard time when Nandor is kind of a shit, because it's never long lasting. It's never, I mean, that is just part of his character. Sometimes he is an arrogant asshole, and sometimes he does get hyper focused on whatever his little scheme of the moment is. That's something he and Naja have in common. But he always comes around in the end. So does she. You know, they always end up seeing the light and kind of bending a little bit and realizing that they do care more for their housemate or their friend or whoever than they were acting like at that moment. So I didn't mind that so much. And I thought it was really great how Colin, rather than being the one looking for acceptance, was able to see in the monster that he was just like Colin when Colin was desperate for that kind of male validation from a strong male role model. And he stood up for the monster to Laszlo and got to be the one that said, hey, it's not cool to treat him like that, and he deserves better. So I felt like that was kind of a healing moment for old Colin Robinson.
Yeah. All right. So now we get to the party and Jordan greets everyone. I don't know if you noticed, but when I still wrote, oh my gosh, this is what my note says. Loved when the crew walked into the party and Jordan greeted them. But then I say, Jacob says, pinch me, to the fact that Guillermo has friends. And the monster goes to actually pinch him. And Les is like, nope.
Yeah, that was funny.
Don't do that.
Old Jacob.
Good old Jacob.
That was funny.
I missed at whatever point in this season where it was explained that the documentary crew was there for Cannon Capital. Did they mention that?
They did. It was when Guillermo first started working there that he had to convince them that that's what they were doing, was documentary Cannon Capital, because he had to explain why the crew was following him around.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but if I recall, and I didn't go back and watch it, I recall Guillermo was telling them that he was watching him as an employee of Cannon Capital. So I feel like Jordan just expanded it and somehow decided that it was really about Cannon Capital as a whole. And
of course he did.
Had forgotten that it was about Guillermo, not him. Yeah,
right.
No, totally on brand for him. Did you notice when he was doing when they first got there, when he was saying that's the Cannon Capital way, that Nandor was doing the little Cannon Capital dance in the background? Yes.
That was so cute.
I love him.
He's still fired up about that company.
Yeah, well, he's a man that when he does a job, he takes pride in it.
Well, he is the chief supreme janitor. So
yeah,
going all in. I admire him for that. So I love how Laszlo continues to want something to appear normal. And instead of just not acknowledging that it's normal, he has to, like, he introduces the monster as his perfectly normal friend.
Yeah.
And it's like drawing attention to something that, if you just said friend, that's all you need to say, Laszlo.
Not in this world. These are the most unobservant humans in the history of the entire world, in any universe. They don't notice a man's got body parts stapled together. They don't notice that Naja can make glass shatter with her screams. They don't notice.
They didn't see that.
Yeah, but they've seen her do stuff. They didn't notice that there was something crazy about the whole train thing when they were trying to trick Shawnee into thinking that they worked for the railroad. They miss a lot, Laszlo, but it did remind me of when he was the normal human vampire, Jackie Daytona.
I hope we get a call back to that before this is over.
If we ever sit down and rank the episodes, I'm going to have to say that maybe number one.
I know it's your number one. It's not mine, but I did watch that last week, and it is definitely towards the top of the list for me, but it's not my number one.
I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole because there's 15 quotes from that episode that I'm tempted to go into right now. So I'm going to let that go before I let it take over my thought process here. Did you notice when they were going to go to the bathroom and he was asking where it was, and Laszlo says thanking you instead of thank you?
No, I missed that.
Jordan tells him where it is and he goes thanking you instead of thank you, which is so Laszlo.
I like Jordan asking Guillermo, I'm sorry, I got to stop writing Giz in my notes. Guillermo about Colin Robinson, and he's like, isn't that the guy that beat the shit out of you? And Guillermo's like, no, He's like, it looks like him. And then sweet Nandor, it is obvious that Guillermo wrote a note on his hand for him to read as to explain as to, no, he's not the guy who got fired. That's his, how did he put it?
That was my slow-witted brother. That was the janitor. And then Jordan asks him what he does for a living. And he tells him that he was a warlord in the Middle East and led armies. And he says, oh, like Mossad, which is the fighting arm of the Israeli intelligence. And he says Mossad, and Nandor goes, Gesundheit.
Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that I was just going to move into then when they start talking about, I wish we could have 4 Guillermos. And he says, I wish I could have 2 Guillermos, and you could have one and I could have one, and they could become friends or maybe lovers. Yeah, and then I could say, Guillermo, go fuck yourself. And he could do it.
Yeah. That is my second favorite moment of the episode. The first one we briefly talked about earlier, but we'll go into more later.
Are we talking now about when Guillermo leaves the room and he starts talking to him about, so what do you do? Are we at that point yet?
We can jump into that, but I was first going to go through the list of what Nadia does when she finds out that she got her new job.
Okay, I broke it into 3 parts because it was kind of hard. This was another one of those episodes where the main cast was really interacting a lot more together than they do, all of them, than in most episodes, which I love that they're doing this more here towards the end. So it's kind of hard to figure out how to break it out, but I broke it out into the main plot of Guillermo and Cannon Capital, and then I have one that I called Yes Master, which was about the whole thing with the monster and Laszlo and Colin, and then I have Working Girl for the Naja part. So you just let me know and I can just flip through my notes.
What I did was I went through the opening moments, and then I've got Naja, her in one section, and then the next section would be the Laszlo, Colin Robinson monster part, and then everything else highlighted in a certain color. But I kind of wrote it out in the order of the episode. I've got it sectioned off so we can easily dive right in. So I want to start with Nadia getting a job while at her current job and believing that the human custom is to burn every bridge before you leave, and them showing the people that have been fired or let go from Cannon Capital going off.
I thought that she thought that they made lamps, really big lamps. The whole time that she's worked at Cannon Capital, that's what she thought they did.
Yeah. I like that she thinks that they burn every bridge so that the other coworkers won't miss them so much. It's really kind of sweet. And then Laszlo is like, is Guillermo going to be all right if you leave? And she's like, what are you talking about? He's like, it's why you work here in the first place. And she says, fuck it.
Have you ever burned bridges like when you have left a job?
That is not true. One time I worked for Wendy's Old Fashioned Hamburgers in Elizabethton, Tennessee, and my boss she was just a horrible, horrible person. And I decided to get a job, and I went in to give her my 2-week notice. And she said, and I quote, well, if you're quitting on me in 2 weeks, I don't need you now. And I said, you know what? F you. And I turned and walked out the door.
Ooh, good for you.
I think she deserved it. Laszlo would have been proud of me to look at that woman and say, get fucked.
I love that you specified that it's Wendy's old-fashioned hamburgers.
Because that's what it is.
I know. It's just I've never heard them called by their full government name before. So I love that. I like a Wendy's. I like their fries,
love
too.
A Wendy's hamburger.
I worked at Burger King and I did not like their fries. Still hate their fries. They are from the devil. They're disgusting. They were okay when I was a kid. They're terrible now. Their burgers are okay, but I think Wendy's has the best.
I love a Burger King original chicken sandwich.
Yes.
Cut in half like we used to get when we were kids.
We could be here for hours. Maybe this should be our next podcast. But I was going to say, I did burn. Funny, I hope if my kids ever listen to this, Mom tells you all the time, don't ever, ever, ever leave a job until you already have something else lined up, and don't burn your bridges. However, I don't really know that this is even necessarily like super setting fire to the bridge, but when I left our old place of shared
I was thinking
employment.
that. I was like, you burned it with him, didn't you?
I sure did. The last week that I was there, as we've discussed before, my boss at the time was an absolute pig of a man. And I said before he hired me that I would not make a great assistant, but it turned out he only hired me because they were pressuring him to get one and he didn't really want one. So he hired a completely inexperienced 25-year-old whose pants he wanted to get into. Not that I knew that at the time. And when he realized that wasn't going to happen, was a complete asshole to me, gave me very little to do. I am not somebody who enjoys sitting on my ass all day. I need something to do. So I found things to do. But as you'll recall, he was making the beast with two backs with a good portion of the 25-year-olds with daddy issues in that
Oh,
building.
he tried me too, but it didn't happen. No,
I
thank
know,
you,
girl.
sir.
So anyway, like the last week I was there, I shared what I knew of his activities with as many of his lady friends as I possibly could, including the one that he had been calling his quote unquote girlfriend. She took me out to lunch and I gave her all the information on where the bodies were buried before I had my last day. 30 years later, I don't regret. Well, 20 years later, I don't regret it. I don't regret one bit.
I know this person, and everything you say is completely accurate, and I do not blame you at all.
I don't know that it materially affected his life at all, but I like to believe that it made it a little bit harder for him.
Just at least if he had 5 minutes of uncomfortableness, yeah, I think it would have been worth it.
If I saved one young 20-something from getting whatever gonorrhea he was going to expose them to, then it was a deed well done.
Anyway, so here's my list of ways Nadja, as she says, fucks up as much shit as possible.
I love that was her people's motto, was to fuck up as much shit as possible.
They had a lot of anger issues.
That's so shocking to
I know, right?
She came from an angry people. It's funny that you wrote this down too, because I did too.
So she fries the computer.
Yep.
She busts out the conference room glass.
Yep.
She tosses the little mail cart down the hall. She tells Nancy her spreadsheets are hog shit and asks if she's numerically demented, which as a numerically demented person, I'm a little offended by that.
I identify with it and I'm going to use it going forward because I have to tell you, my spreadsheets are hog shit. No one that is like an Excel junkie is ever going to look at a spreadsheet I created and go, that is some fine work there. It'll get the job done, but it looks like a 5-year-old did it.
I am very proud. Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, I'm really good at it, but I am so thankful that there are such things as formulas.
Exactly.
Otherwise, mine would look like 5-year-old was doing some math because I hate numbers. So then she goes on to tell Brock his fiance has been cheating on him with her brother forever, or his brother forever. Then she tells, which is my favorite, she tells Lisa her voice is incredibly deep, nasal, and grating. Your whole vibe is you crave love because you never had it before as a child. Where were your parents?
And then she goes, I swore I wouldn't cry.
Yes.
Like she had just said something very heartfelt and sweet to Lisa. But yeah, high five, Nadja. I hated Lisa. Lisa was only like, it was it was Jordan, then that redheaded dude, and then Lisa in the pecking order of people I wanted to see squished.
Yeah. And then her last act before everything blows up is she starts stealing stuff off of a random desk. And he's just like, that's not your desk. Not anymore. And then she's gone.
I like when she tells him she's got a new job. She goes, headhunted.
Yeah. And Laszlo's so proud. Like, that's my baby. That's my girl.
We all need a Laszlo.
Yes, we do. So that's the main Nadja discussion. There's little bits of her trickled towards the end of the episode, but now we can dive into, let's go ahead and knock out the Colin Robinson Laszlo part because I really want to focus on Nandor. Yeah, Nandor. Oh, I got one right. Nandor and Guillermo. But I do want to save the elevator ride for the end before we go into what happened when they got off of the elevator.
Oh, that's fine with me.
Okay, that elevator scene rocked my
It was
world.
funny.
There was some genuinely great silent comedic acting that happened. Oh, so good. So, first thought on Colin Robinson. I told you I didn't care for Laszlo shaming the monster, but I get it because it gave us more of a chance to see a sweet fatherly Colin Robinson. And we also got to hear Matt Berry say, Patrick Swayze.
Yeah. He's a fine dancer. He's no Patrick Swayze.
What else did he say? A cocktail?
Yeah, he had him reciting that Latin that the monster was speaking to everybody, and Laszlo was really mad that nobody was appreciating what Laszlo thought were wonderful party tricks for his monster to be exhibiting, and one of them was reciting Latin, and I looked it up, and it's a famous poem by Homer. It doesn't make any sense because it was just like a little snippet of it, so I won't bother translating it. But that's what that was. I like when Colin said, "Let's go take a break and see how many pizza rolls you can fit in your mouth." That's more party tricks that I can do.
That's my kind of party. You invite Mandy and I over, that's the kind of fun stuff you're going to get.
Yes.
Although, if Mandy breaks out and starts reciting a poem in another language or written back in the 1800s, I can't help that.
Well, that's a good time for everybody to go to the bathroom.
We'll break off to go heat up some more pizza roll.
Yeah. Historically, that is what happens normally when I bring the vibe down.
Somebody get the pizza rolls. That's Mandy's cue to wrap it up. I liked it when the monster was fitting in, and that little thumbs up Colin Robinson gave him.
That was adorable.
So sweet. And then, of course, he accidentally makes a mistake, and Laz is mean. And then Colin Robinson's got one of the great lines of the episode. Chill your tits, Laszlo.
Yeah, that was funny. I liked what Laszlo said. You were doing well with the wankers.
Yeah, that's a good one. I also like the Laszlo coming back. Chill your tit.
Yeah.
Colin Robinson. I've noticed a lot. I noticed it this season, but it carries on that episodes I'm rewatching. That Laszlo really is like that petulant child who you tell him to be quiet and they're like, you be quiet. He can't stop himself.
Yeah, he's not going to not come back.
I think it's sweet that Colin Robinson is taking up for the monster and Laszlo starting to get that the monster has feelings, whether that was your intention or not.
Yeah. He created him, but he's more than what Laszlo intended from him. And that was very nice. And it was really like a growing up moment for Colin to have that talk with Laszlo and make him see that you can't just treat him like a piece of meat or an animal that's just here to perform for you. He has feelings. He cares about things. You've created a being that cares.
Right. That's my highlights on that until we get to the elevator and the end of the episode. So I say we go ahead and dive into the real meat of this episode, which is
Guillermo. And Guillermo is allegedly going to be honored because Jordan has told him that, he's going to come to this party, bring your friends, get a speech prepared. We're really going to celebrate you because he's given him this hot tip on shorting this company that they've acquired. And it's gone really well. And apparently he's made them a lot of money. So Guillermo's got all of his buddies. They're all there. And he's told Guillermo to go. What was it? Oh, no. Nandor tells Guillermo to go get him a beer and put it on the rocks. Yeah. So he's trying to feel out Jordan about how he feels about about Guillermo. And he starts to really figure out that he thinks of Guillermo and treats Guillermo basically, actually, I don't think he puts it together that Jordan treats Guillermo exactly the same way that he used to treat Guillermo, which is basically like he's just an underling and stupid and a nobody and he has no feelings and he's just there for his convenience. Like he says something about like he's like a servant to you, and Jordan goes, "Your words, not mine," which is something that he said over and over again because much like every douchey executive I've ever known, he doesn't want to take responsibility for the shitty things that he's doing. But Nandor says something along the lines of like, he just doesn't need very much, that Nandor or Guillermo doesn't need very much. And he says like food and water and a new brush for my hair.
Yeah, it's actually Jordan is talking about Guillermo's neediness and how much he uses that to take advantage of Guillermo. And Nandor says, yeah, he was always needing something like food, water, a new brush, my hair.
Yeah, for his hair.
Yeah, which Jordan kind of gave a look at, but didn't think too much about it.
He says you wouldn't take advantage of Guillermo. And then again, Jordan's like, officially, no. Because yet again, he's not going to commit to his douchebaggery, even though it is blatantly obvious.
Well, I have that here in my notes that Jordan's comment, officially no. But Nandor realizing that Jordan doesn't want what's actually good for Guillermo and thinking, that he would not treat an underling with such contempt. But that's exactly how, like you mentioned a second ago, that's been his and Guillermo's entire relationship. But I think from Nandor's perspective, and I'm not excusing Nandor's behavior to Guillermo, but I think he sees the difference is that he genuinely loves and cares for Guillermo, and Jordan is just being a douche. I think that's the difference.
Oh, it's definitely the difference, but I would say that initially there wasn't that much difference. If there were actual moments in the interplay between Nandor, Guillermo, and Jordan in this episode that literally were callbacks to earlier episodes that mirrored things. I won't, but that mirrored things that Nandor had done to Guillermo in the past that Jordan was now doing to him right in front of him. So I think that Nandor does start to figure out eventually that he trained Guillermo to accept this kind of behavior from a supervisor, that he trained him to take the bare minimum because he took advantage of how badly Guillermo wanted to belong and wanted validation.
But it takes him a minute to realize that. And I think he's starting to see it here in true Nandor fashion. He can't fully accept that he's a bad guy in this situation.
Right.
So in his mind, well, okay, maybe that was a bit of how I was with Guillermo, but I care about him, so it's different.
Yeah, I think it's in Nandor's head, it's like, it's okay for me to do it, but not you or anybody else.
Yes. So Guillermo looked so proud when he was practicing his speech. And, I wrote in my notes here that even though Nandor was 100% telling the truth about Jordan to Guillermo, which Guillermo will find out here in just a minute, but I completely respect and understand Guillermo's reaction. And you mentioned it in your opening thoughts about the episode, that it was so good to see Guillermo stand up for himself, stand up to Nandor, and to be truly raw and real with his feelings. You never believed in me. Why wasn't I good enough? Of course, Nandor missing most of the point, thinking that doesn't sound like something he would do.
And it sounded exactly like what he did do. Yes.
Yeah. I like there was a slow burn, very slow burn throughout this episode. And it did take some dips, and we'll continue on about it. But, it was Guillermo just slowly starting to make his way to the front of the room on his own and not letting anyone else drag him down.
I love that. And it needed to happen. And that was I'm glad that we got that resolution and that character development before the finale. I thought that was great. I think it needed to be done and said. And I liked that moment for Guillermo. And it led to what was coming up at the end of it, of the episode with him and Nandor.
Yeah. But what really, and this makes me hate Jacob Jordan even more, is,
Jacob Jordan.
Jordan gets up and starts his nonsense and
says, how much I hate public speaking.
Right. Like, that's like me saying, I don't want to do a podcast because I don't like to talk. Whatever.
Right.
Watched this episode several times, and each time I focused on Guillermo and his face. And I think I'm going to give an example of Agatha all along. One thing I love about Catherine Hahn is her ability, without saying a word, to change just a tiny bit of her facial expression to you get a full scene just out of the way her face shifts in just a few brief moments. Her ability to do that. And I noticed.
See, I haven't seen Agatha, but I do know Catherine Hahn's work, and she is amazing. And she's another great character actor. You're right. And that is what makes Harvey Guillaume, I'm never going to be able to say his last name correctly. That is what makes him great. Like we discussed last week, these are all really good character actors. And you're right. Like Guillermo's whole arc was written on his face in that scene.
It was so well done. I know this show will not get any award show love, I'm sure, but man, I tip my hat to him for that. And then when it's all said and done, and you know, Guillermo just had this strong moment with Nandor, like, no, you've been bad to me. You're not going to do this to me anymore. And then he thinks he's getting this moment, and he doesn't. And he kind of slips back into timid Guillermo.
But let's talk about that speech first before we move on to...
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I loved how skillfully he made himself Tony Stark in that speech. So he gets up there and he says, you know, I don't like public speaking. And then he starts talking about how they're all the Avengers and his crew is, he picks out one, he says is Thor, and he picks out, somebody else is Captain America. And he makes Guillermo Groot, who isn't even one of the Avengers.
He ended up being, spoiler alert, Thor's handle in Endgame.
He did? Oh, I didn't know. Yeah, I told you last week when we were talking before we started recording, I don't watch the sad ones, so I haven't watched any.
Oh, man, it was Groot's. They needed the handle.
He makes himself, Jordan, makes someone else call him Tony Stark. But he skillfully created the whole atmosphere of that speech where that, of course, that's what they were going to say, is that he was the one that brought everybody together. So just like every other thing, he doesn't want to commit himself. He manipulates other people into doing what he wants.
I watched this scene, and it's very funny that you brought up your previous boss, because when I watched this scene, that's who I thought of. I was like, this is 100% him.
Oh, yes, for sure. Like, the whole reason I started working for him was because he was a groomer. He'd like to go around and he would be who he was speaking to. He would figure out who that person wanted him to be, and that's who he would be.
He would do it.
And he used to come up there and he knew my disdain for spoiled executives. So he would come when he was in and tell me all these hilarious stories about ridiculous things that his fellow executives had asked for when they were traveling, things like that, to make me think that, he was one of the little guys. And then the minute I start working for him, the mask falls off and you see he's just the biggest shark in the lot.
Yeah, he's the same.
Yeah, if not worse. Ugh. Anyway, that is why I'm going to be so glad to never go back to Canon Capital. This has brought back a lot of triggering memories.
Nandor was not triggered going back to Canon Capital, but Mandy is.
But I am, yes.
You've every right to be. I'm sorry, Guillermo.
We've got to pick a show next time with names that we can say.
Well, it's not that, because I just write him as Giz in my notes, but I mean to call him Guillermo on the podcast, but
we'll all figure it out.
Yeah, everybody knows who I'm talking about. So he goes to stand up to Jordan a little timidly, but Jordan tries to bullshit him and make Guillermo think that wasn't about you. You're not ready.
Right.
But you'll get there. And then
he thinks he's going to be able to pawn him off again with some small little gesture.
And Guillermo is so excited, like, oh my God.
Thinks he's getting his promotion.
And he comes back with a photo of Jordan and Guillermo. And I had to pause because I could not stop laughing at going back to that beautiful moment when Guillermo, it's his birthday, and he thinks he's getting ready to become a vampire. And instead, Nandor gives him a beautiful glittery crepey paper drawing of
I knew
Nandor
exactly why you
Guillermo.
wanted to be the one to talk about that.
Thank you for letting me, because that is my favorite episode.
I knew it.
That's where I remember texting you
Yes.
When you like watch this show, and I'm like, I'm in. I am all in.
Creepy
So
paper.
thank you, writers, for that callback. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
But I love how Guillermo is like, no, I'm no. And he shuts it down.
Yeah. This time he's not spending another 6 years being somebody's lackey. Yeah.
Yeah. Jordan gets in his face. Do you know who you're talking to? Oh, so gross. Guillermo's standing up for himself. But what I thought was really interesting, Nandor comes in and does what Nandor does. He busts in and he's choking Jordan, and I'm shouting, just push him through the window,
Yes!
let him go, man. And he doesn't. But two things, Nandor, you're so thankful that he is there to take up for Guillermo and be like, no, you don't get to talk to him that way. But he also at the same time is insulting Guillermo by saying you might be more successful, richer, smarter, better looking, and having a generally cooler vibe, but you don't get to talk to him that way. And Guillermo, what's the actor's name?
Harvey Gillian.
Harvey, his freaking face again.
Like, well, I guess I have to take what I can get here.
Right. But
Yeah.
and that's going to bring me to a very important point towards the end of this episode. Don't let me forget that.
Well, I love that Guillermo was about to break. Like, here's what I took from that. And this is going to be delicate because I don't want to skip ahead to that I know what scene you want to wait until we get to that scene at the very end. So don't want to skip ahead of that. But one of the things that was going on here is that we remember very forcefully, Guillermo remembers, and you see it in his face. He remembers, I am a Van Helsing. I am a dangerous person. And he literally breaks a stake off of...
That's company property.
Yeah. And he is about to unleash on Jordan. And Nandor, I think, partly came in at that point because he knows that Guillermo doesn't want to be a killer. Guillermo doesn't have the heart
I didn't think about
to
that.
be a killer. But Nandor is. Nandor is a killer. He's an unrepentant killer, and he has no problems about squashing Jordan like a bug. But he saw that Guillermo was about to break, and instead he came in and was going to do the violence if violence needed to be done. So, but I love that. I love that Guillermo was ready to defend himself, though. I love that he finally got to that breaking point. But I also love that he didn't have to do anything that he would be regretful of later.
No, that's cool. I didn't think of that, but I did think of this. I think the real standout moment for Guillermo here was telling Nandor, do not kill him. And Nandor actually listened.
I love that too.
And stood down.
Yeah, I loved that too.
After he threw Jacob Jordan down the hall.
Yeah, I love that too. And then Guillermo tells Jordan, I don't have to kill you. I'm going to do something worse to you. I'm going to go to the SEC, the Stock Exchange Commission. And Jordan is like, oh, well, who's going to believe you? And then that's when he breaks the news to him. And I loved that Guillermo did the little, like the finger guns at all three cameras to point out, that these cameras have been recording the whole time. I loved that.
And not for Jordan, but for Guillermo. And then
he's the star, not Jordan. Jordan gets it broken to him that all this time you thought you were the big guy and you thought the important guy. And all along, I've been the one that they've been here for. And I've been going behind your back. I'm not an idiot. I've been recording everything, which, thank goodness.
And he pulled out the receipts and not just the ones from CVS.
Did you? Did you read I tried really hard to read the email that we start seeing a series of flashbacks of times that they have just been blatantly talking about insider trading and things like that. And Guillermo's been having the crew record it. And if you remember that he showed an email that was up on the screen. So I took picture after picture of that thing. And I tried to blow it up and I could read quite a bit of it. It was just some email between Frankie, who's one of the guys that are, in the bullpit there, and the redheaded dude. What's his name? I don't remember the other one that I wish
I call him Big Red now because that's what Guillermo said in the first of the episode.
It was an email between them because the redheaded guy was accusing him of losing some tickets to a concert or something like that. That's all that was. So very disappointed in that.
Well, he kept that receipt.
He did. Whatever. If it was going to be important, he was going to have it.
I don't know how I didn't make a note on it, but before we get into the elevator, so all that's said and done, and when was it that Nadja announces she got a new job and basically
It was
got
right about then. I
scammed?
think it was then. I think
Is
that
right
was,
then it
yeah.
segues. Okay.
Yeah, Naja gets up and she tells everybody, I've been headhunted. I've got a new job. I'm out of here. And then she tells them that you probably wrote this line down, Becky. I didn't. Did you write down exactly what Naja said?
No, that's why I'm saying I don't even have a note on
Okay,
that.
so she gets up and she tells them, later, suckers, I'm out of here. I've got a new job. Somebody recruited me. All I had to do was send them $10,000 and some pictures of my feet.
Yeah, and then they just then recruit 15 of y'all.
Yes, yeah. And so that's when everybody at Canon Capital starts telling her, you just got scammed, dumbass. And Lisa calls her a bitch and
Oh
tells her that she
yeah.
got scammed. Lisa's going to regret that later.
I was mad at that point. Not mad. I wasn't mad, but it was kind of like one of
A
those. This
letdown.
would have been a great time for some head popping at
I know.
Cannon Capital. And Jerry, I don't know why I want to call the monster Jerry.
It would be a
My
nice name
apologies
for
for
him.
insulting you, monster. But he was getting ready to pop Big Red's head.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And Colin Robinson,
Is able to
very
calm them
like a
down.
father, don't no temper tantrum here. Everything's okay. Calms him down. I think that would have been a fun moment for that, for him to do it. And then,
The monster says, dick.
yeah.
Instead of popping head, he just yells a cuss word at him and moves on.
Well, he and Colin Robinson are sitting in the chairs by the elevators, waiting on everybody to show up. And, the monster is concerned that because he messed up and Leslie's going to be mad. And Colin Robinson's like, no, man, you were just acting like a normal person at a party.
It's
Like,
normal party behavior.
normal party behavior, and tells him he's a cool dude. I loved that. And I think that was when the monster was like, okay, this guy
We're friends.
cares about me. So then we get in the elevator, and the elevator ride was amazing. The directing and camera action in this was so well done. They pan on everybody's faces and everybody's all disappointed and bummed out. And then Laszlo says something to Monster, and Monster's like, he is now Colin Robinson's monster. And Colin Robinson, or Laszlo's mad, and Colin Robinson points out to Laszlo that it's a good thing. The good things the monster did at the party, and Laszlo acknowledging that they did do a good job with this monster, and that they will force the entire science community to eat shit.
Which sounds like a very Laszlo goal.
Yes. And then the monster wants his two daddies to kiss. Here's everything that broke down in this episode. And if you didn't catch it, please go back and watch this. Nandor's cheeky grin was amazing.
Yeah.
Nadja's look of absolute, I don't know, I couldn't quite tell if it was disgust or annoyance. And then the moment where Laszlo, the monster's trying to push him together, and Laszlo is like vehemently like, no, I am not doing this. And Colin Robinson's like, I mean, we still have 7 floors to go. And then camera pans over to Guillermo, and he's just got this,
oh my God,
grin, his face just like satisfaction for the strength he showed in finally realizing he's worth something and he doesn't need to take anybody else's crap. And then looking at this wacky group of people and realizing, for better for worse, this is his family. And I felt like acceptance to me, but also, oh, here come the shenanigans. They want the dads to make out. I loved all of the work that was done.
Like, it just was a reminder, that moment was a reminder to him why he loves these ridiculous creatures.
Yeah. And then Nadja's little comment, he takes after his daddy, the horny little freak.
Yeah.
And then Nadja, just in perfect Nadja tone, is like, let's get out of this shithole. And Colin Robinson is like, give me your hand. to the monster.
Yeah.
Like they're getting ready to walk across the street or something, and he's gonna guide him home.
And it's his little baby.
And it made me flash back to baby Colin Robinson and Laszlo and their hand holding scene. It was towards one of the end of the episodes where he
Yeah.
takes his hand and walks away. Do you remember?
Yeah, I do.
I started tearing up right there. And then before we get into the meat of Nandor and Guillermo's conversation, how fired up Nandor was when he left. And then he just takes the Canon Capital sign and tosses it into the side of the building saying, suck it. And the rest of the crew, I don't know if you saw them behind cheering him on, and Nadia, not like super cheerful, but like, oh, go Nandor.
Yeah, I did notice that. Yeah. It was like he and Guillermo both had like a rush of adrenaline. Like they had both kind of like got their groove back, discovered their purpose again when they left that
Oh my
building.
God, that's a movie. How Nandor and Guillermo got their grooves back.
Not saying I wouldn't watch that movie. I think we've extensively covered that I would.
Oh yeah, I'd watch it. Anyway, so now we get to the part where I cried like a little girl. Oh, this whole thing is beautiful. And they talked about Batman, and you know how much I love Batman.
Mm-hmm.
So Nandor has now decided he wants to use his powers for good to bring, did he say justice to the unjustest?
I didn't
think
notice if he did, but that's funny. And it sounds very much like Nandor.
And Guillermo's like, so like Batman. And Nandor's like, I don't know who that is. But unlike Laszlo, he genuinely doesn't know who that is.
The way he said it was more like, I don't know who that is. And then immediately brushes it off, just like with Laszlo and Frankenstein. Like, it's not just that they don't know. He could not give a shit less who Batman is. That's just some stupid human nonsense. I don't even give a shit who Batman is.
And then he goes on to talk about having a underground lair and a young sidekick. And Guillermo says, like Robin. And Nandor's like, I don't think robbing people is a good idea.
Yeah. He's telling Guillermo, look, you're not a killer, but I am a killer. And I'm always going to be a killer. I'm a vampire. But I could start being more discriminating about who I kill. And you and I could take down the bad guys of the world. We can work together and do good, use our power to do good in this world. And that's when it leads into the whole Guillermo's pointing out that this sounds exactly like the Batman storyline. And Nandor's like, yeah, I don't know who that is. But he does want an underground lair.
Oh, for sure. Which, who doesn't, honestly?
Right.
Then he talks about Nandor's speech, or Nandor talks about them being an unbreakable alliance or some shit like that.
Or some shit.
Which I'm still like crying my tears. But here's what I wrote it down, and they get like, okay, we're going to get real. And Nandor looks at Guillermo and he says, face it, you're never going to be a normal human guy. You don't belong with them. You belong with us.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then Guillermo says, I'm not a vampire. And Nandor's, I'm going to cup.
Becky, do you need a tissue? Becky's a little verklempt.
Verklempt. Talks amongst yourselves. Oh my God, this is so beautiful.
The Holy Roman Empire is neither holy nor Roman nor an empire.
I love you so much. So he looks at him and he says, no, you're something even cooler. You're a warrior.
Oh, I did love that.
I dissolved.
And that is the highest honor that Nandor could pay anyone.
I mean,
I know, because he's a warlord at heart, and recognizing that Guillermo was a fellow warrior was really like a full circle moment for those two. It was very nice. It was very beautiful.
It was amazing. But the show gives you this moment where you I felt Nandor's words. I felt Guillermo feeling Nandor's words. And then they go in for the handshake, and kudos to the writers. They break the heaviness of the moment by Nandor telling Guillermo, you can let go now.
And his hand's clammy and he wipes his hand off.
And then Nandor asking, what else can he throw at the building?
That kind of reminded me of how every poignant moment that you and I have, after a while, I can't take it anymore and I have to talk about your amazing boobs.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I genuinely do think you have amazing boobs, but I'm also deeply uncomfortable with real emotion.
I just want you all out there to know, Mandy and I both have amazing boobs.
We do. I mean, our defining characteristic is that we both have a really, really, really nice rack.
Yeah. Everything else, it's just bonus.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. The brains and the humor and the stunning wit and, the encyclopedic knowledge of all things television, that's all just a bonus. It's the Hooters.
Yeah.
Keep them coming back.
It is true. So before we head home and wrap this up, is there anything, I know I rambled on about I'm sorry, I took over the conversation, but I just loved that moment so much. So do you have anything you want to add?
No, I'm just really looking forward to next week. I love that, like you covered, I was hoping and I really sensed that where we were going with this was that as we wrap everything up, I would love to see Nandor and Guillermo ride off into the sunset together as a couple, but I genuinely really don't think that, because again, these guys do not care about monogamy at all. Secondary was I wanted to see Guillermo come into his own, and I wanted to see Nandor respect him, and I wanted him to choose to stay with the vampires, not because he felt like he needed validation from anyone or needed to be anyone's subordinate, but that it was because they respected him and loved him, and he loved and respected them as well. Oh, we didn't talk about the very end scene though, Becky.
That's what I meant by before we head home.
Gotcha. Got to their home. Oh, I was wrapping my purse up. I didn't know what you're doing.
Preach, girl. You said some good stuff.
I don't know what we're going to do going into the finale. I would like to see... Well, you know what? Let's save that. You talk about this next scene, and then I think before we go, when we get to the end, let's talk about like what we'd like to see next week.
Okay, cool. So we get home and they're all dragging themselves up the stairs to the house, and Laszlo is absolutely done with a corporate pit of despair, and Nod just says, "You were only there for an hour." And he's like, "That was long enough." To which I looked at him and said, "You're right."
Yeah.
100%.
After about an hour in the office, that's genuinely how I feel too.
Same. And then, of course, Colin Robinson had a great time. And he got a bobblehead. And so did Nadja. When she pulled Lisa's head out of that
was
box,
hilarious.
And Guillermo just simple, like, "Is that Lisa?"
Yeah.
And in tears, she's saying, "She really was my favorite."
Yeah.
And now you have her head forever. I thought that I didn't see that coming.
Me either. That was very funny.
It was well executed and acted, and it was great. I liked the end, but this one little part where it looked like Giz was, woe is me, Giz, starting to feel bad again. I wish they would have just had Nandor say, "Hey, Guillermo, come in. We've got some things to plan. First on the agenda, capes. What if we wear them on our fronts?" I don't like that little moment of looking like Guillermo is falling back into the woe is me after that beautiful, powerful moment the two of them had together. I love that last line.
Well, that was the part that Hulu cut off because they hate me. I didn't hear that last line about the capes, but that's hilarious. B, I didn't take it that way. I thought it was pretty organic because it is the vampire's house. He had been living outside. They hadn't discussed whether or not he was going to be living inside again or not. So I didn't really take it that he was falling back into kind of a woe is me. I felt like it was like a come down, because think about it, Becky, anytime we have, something in your life, you have something really, really, really exciting happens, and it might genuinely be a life-changing event, but it doesn't change everything. You know what I mean? Like at some point, reality always intrudes again to a certain degree. And so I just took it as like, that was a moment. It wasn't necessarily that Guillermo was going to backslide completely into being a complete doormat. It was just, oh man, this fun night's over. I guess everybody's going to go in and I got to go back to my house back here. And so it was just a reminder that everything wasn't perfect in his life. And then it was like the little cherry on top to me that Nandor was like, "Hey, what are you doing? Like Nandor reminded him, no, this is a new day. You come in, you're back in here with us. This is now. So I didn't see it the same way you did. I thought that it was just more of a little, like one of those moments you have after a really, really exciting day where you just kind of, it's not that exciting day didn't happen and it may not have even changed your life, but you still have to deal with reality.
That's fair. I still think they could have left out the sad face and had all of that been executed fine, but I hear you, and I do think that works.
Either way, I'm glad he's out of what was it, the wanking shed?
The jerk off shed.
The jerk off shed. I'm glad he gets to come out of the jerk off shed and potentially even go back to his tiny little room underneath the stairs.
Before we go into what we expectations for next episode.
You want him to get his own bedroom.
Yeah, for sure. They got enough. My final thoughts, I love the moments between Nandor and Guillermo, especially after leaving Canaan Capital. I think that this episode did a great job of closing that part of the story, though I am really upset we didn't get to see Jordan Jacob fly through the window.
Yeah, this is a good place for us to talk about what we'd like to see next week, I think, once you wrap up what your final thoughts are here.
Real quick, it was beautiful hearing Nandor finally give Guillermo his due. I kind of wish they would have come up with something different other than making Guillermo his Winky Fingers sidekick, but I could possibly be overthinking that. I am heartbroken. We only have one episode left. I have no idea what we're going to get, but I have no doubt that it's going to be absolutely amazing.
What would you like to see?
I would like to see Guillermo get his own bedroom. I would like to see whatever happens between Guillermo and Nandor. I want to see them not lose the banter that goes on between them, but I want to see them on an equal footing. I don't want Guillermo to be the sidekick. I want Guillermo to be Nandor's equal. If that is, I don't think it's going to be a sexual relationship, but I really want to see that. But honestly, I don't know. What I wanted, I got in this episode. I was trying to think when I was writing up my notes, like, how are they going to end this? And I just want to see, I would love for the episode to be an hour long. I think if they just continue on Staten Island, I don't know what I want other than just
you don't really feel like they left a whole lot out there. Like you feel like a lot of it's been wrapped up. I hear you.
I do want to see Guillermo accidentally set the Baron on fire one more time, just for old time's sake. Nothing against you, Baron. I adore you.
That is always
I just
funny.
think that would be a fun callback.
I think that he and Guillermo have moved, Nandor and Guillermo have moved towards a more equal relationship. I don't think it would be in Nandor's character not to mess up, because there is just an inherent arrogance about him, and he's very old. By the way, Becky, it's hard for me to concentrate because I think somebody's being murdered in the parking lot out here, but we're just going to ignore that. I think that
You see my Guillermo face?
Yes.
Like, so?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, good luck. Anyway, I think that it's unlikely that you're not going to still see some moments where Guillermo's going to have to pull Nandor back to earth and remind him that he's not the sidekick, because I think that the one thing that all of the vampires have in common, aside from Colin Robinson, is that they firmly believe they are the star of their own lives in the show. So, and Nandor, well, no, I was going to say arguably Nandor more than all, but I think all three of them are incredibly arrogant. So I do think that whatever adventures they're getting into, Guillermo is going to have to continually pull Nandor back to reality every once in a while and just say, hey.
Once in a while.
Right. But I think they've already moved towards Nandor accepting deep down that they are equals and that he wants to treat Guillermo like an equal. I just think that's going to always be a struggle for Nandor.
That's fair.
I'd like to see a little bit of them getting into their shenanigans with hunting bad guys. I hope maybe incorporating some of Nandor's or Guillermo's. We're going to ride this out with me just interchanging their names every time I come up. I can't stop myself. So anyway, I would like to see Guillermo's family maybe be incorporated into that, his heritage as a Van Helsing, and maybe his mom and his cousin, and they're all out hunting bad guys together. I think that would be great. I would like to see Naja, she clearly has been looking for some kind of purpose this season, something outside the house, something to do. I think that's kind of been a theme with her throughout the series, is just, trying to find a job really that she enjoys. So I'd like to see where she goes with that. With Laszlo, I just feel like Laszlo, he doesn't have that journey. He's not looking for a purpose necessarily. Just, I think he's grown as a person. He's become kinder over the last 6 years. He's become more empathetic. He can have his head up his own ass like they all can every episode, but he generally comes around to being more empathetic by the end. So, I don't really know what I'd like to see for Laszlo. I guess just, him continuing to accept that Naja can have a life outside of him. Maybe just more with him and Guillermo and the monster. Though I'd like to see the monster get a name other than Monster. That would be nice.
I want the guide.
That was what I was getting to at the end. Like the one thing that I think they did not wrap up yet that I would really, really like to see is something cool happen with the guide. And I also...
And Dolly.
Yes.
Naja.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Dolly has to come back and I really want Dolly to have a big part of this next episode. I want to see her have some significant time because I'm not ready to let Dolly go. I love her so much. She's such a great addition to the show. I think it would be really awesome if they did something like they did at the end of season 1 when they had the Vampiric Council and they had all of those celebrity vampires. Tilda Swinton from, Only Lovers Left Alive, and Joe Manganiello, who never was a vampire, but he was in True Blood, and Wesley Snipes, who was Blade, and the guys from the original What We Do in the Shadows movie were in that council. I would like to see them come back. I'd like to see Taika Waititi and Jeremy Clements come back.
Robert Pattinson. Add Robert Pattinson.
I think if you really should have shot for the moon when you were going over the things you were looking for, Becky, go ahead. We got a wish list.
I want to see Robert Pattinson come onto the show and maybe even hook up with Naja.
That would be the ultimate. That'd be hot. Yeah. It's unlikely, but hey, this is your wish list. So I say shoot for the moon.
It's my world. You get out of it.
If I have to, I guess if I'm going to go and shoot for the moon, we already got Eric Northman in that last episode, but maybe he could come back and take his shirt off.
What if he came back with Edward Cullen or Robert Pattinson and they make out?
Okay.
That's what I want.
I don't hate it.
I don't care if anyone else is on that show for the finale. That's all I want.
If that just 22 minutes of those two making out.
Like, give me a soapy shower scene.
Becky and I
let me get that spot, Alexander Skarsgård. Okay, Robert Pattinson.
Thank God our husbands don't listen to this.
I would say this in front of my husband.
I would too. And Eric would just roll his eyes.
Same. Yeah.
So yeah, there it is, guys. That's mine and Becky's major wish list. And if it doesn't happen in the finale, we will be starting, once we figure out what we're going to do next, part of that will be a GoFundMe to make the cast and crew get back together to film that scene.
Just that scene.
Actually, we don't need the cast. It's just the crew. Yeah, just the film crew and those two guys.
Alexander Skarsgård and Robert Pattinson.
Yeah. So that's it. That's it for me.
All right. Well, that's it for me. That was fun. That was a good discussion.
Yeah.
I think anyone not listening to us is truly missing out.
They're really missing out, man. We have a good time.
All right. So let's move on to feedback.
Okay, our awesome friend Steve Brown left us a voicemail. Let's hear what he thinks of episode 10.
Hello, Becky and Mandy. This is Steve, and this is for What We Do in the Shadows, Season 6, Episode 10. Oh, and we're back to Guillermo and his job. Nice. Oh, it's good that he's killing it. Ooh, who is Mr. Nelson? Have we ever heard of this guy? He's the upper management. I love how at first none of them want to go as his friends, but now because he doesn't want them to go, they all want to go to this party. And what is this party going to be, you think? Uh-oh, Monster needs the toilet. This is not going to end well, I don't think. Oh, and Nadia's been offered a new job. And is this the final episode? This just can't seem to end well with Nadia destroying the place because she's getting a new job or thinks she's getting a new job, right? I don't know. You get yourself a cocktail, Laszlo. Oh, Nandor's finding out how Guillermo's boss really feels about him, and it's not great. Oh, okay. I just had to pause and check. There's one more episode. There's an episode 11. That's the finale. Did he just call Guillermo Groot and himself Tony Stark in this Avengers speech? Oh, Nadia figured they're all realizing that she got scammed. Oh, and Monster's about to pop somebody's head. Oh, okay. He stopped him. Oh, Guillermo's starting to figure out that Jordan doesn't really appreciate him after all. Oh, a pitcher dude, not the full-time job. Come on. Oh, Nandor coming to Guillermo's rescue. That's or his honor. Oh, great. So Guillermo has all the proof of the insider trading to give to the SEC from the documentary film crew. That's right, Jordan. It's not your documentary. Oh, Nandor just picked up that whatever and just threw it into the building. He's excited. He's charged up. Nandor wants to become Batman, Dracula Man, Vampire Man. Oh, that's touching. He says, you don't belong with them, you belong with us. But you're not going to be a vampire, only cooler. A warrior. Love it. Maybe a spinoff?
Yes.
Nandor and Guillermo? Oh, and Nadia took Lisa's head. All right, on to the finale.
Thank you so much, Steve, for the amazing feedback. We appreciate hearing from you each week. It is greatly appreciated. And please keep the feedback coming.
I want to say I'm glad that he said that about the Nandor and Guillermo spinoff. I thought the same thing, that wouldn't it be awesome and I completely forgot that I thought, man, it would be so cool if they started a spinoff of Nandor and Guillermo hunting bad guys.
Oh, it would be amazing.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen, but it'd be cool.
But yeah, that would be great. If you would like to leave us some feedback or just say hi, you can email or send us a voice message as an attachment to what's on tonight 2@gmail.com. You can visit our Facebook page where there will be a post for the next episode, and you can leave feedback in the comments section or send us a message through Facebook Messenger. We can be found on Instagram as well at What's On Tonight Podcast and the number 2. We would greatly appreciate it if you leave a review, comment, and or share on your podcast listening app of choice. And we are super excited to announce that our podcast can now be found on Apple Podcasts. Woo-hoo.
Next week, we're going to continue our coverage of What We Do in the Shadows Season 6 with episode 11 titled The Finale.
I'm not ready for this. I'm not.
Me either.
I almost feel like we should do a watch party, but it's on a Monday night.
Yeah, girl.
And I'm old.
This is one of those things we'd say, yes, we're totally go-go about. And then Monday about 2:00, we'd be like,
I'm just going to watch it at my house.
yeah, I'm not putting pants on.
Oh, Mandy, do you have any podcast recommendations or anything else that you would like to share with our listeners?
No podcast, but I do have 2 things. The amazing poet from Knoxville, Tennessee, Nikki Giovanni, passed this week. I encourage anyone who is not familiar with her work to please Google her. She was incredible. If you are familiar in her honor, I encourage you to go and revisit some of her beautiful work, because she really, really, really was a light to this world, and it's very sad that she's gone. And I would also like to mention, as always, Nashville Launchpad, which is a organization that has created a network of temporary, safer, street-free sleeping shelters for unhoused young adults, which are open and affirming to LGBTQ plus individuals and their allies. They have I know this is a really tough time of year for all of us, but if you have a couple of extra bucks, they have an Amazon wish list, or you can donate monetarily to them. And I believe that they also take donations of blankets, coats, jackets, that sort of thing. And of course, this is absolutely, it is a tough time, but if you have anything you can spare, they do great work. And I would just appreciate you checking them out and sharing that information with anyone you think might be interested.
Send me the information that you have, and I will post it.
Great.
So that people can click on it when they see us on Facebook. That really is a great thing.
It is a great organization. And my friend Renee that I've mentioned, she didn't start it. I thought she was just her baby, but it is not. It is a network. And I believe they might even be in other cities. But Renee is a really, really, really wonderful person. This affects her personally. She has family members, as do we all, that are a member of that community. And She is a someone who cares very, very deeply about this cause. And right now, particularly in this day and age, this is a very vulnerable segment of our society. These kids are kids that are the most likely to fall into the cracks, to stay in poverty, to maybe even experience depression and self-harm. So yeah, it is a great organization, and I will share that with you. And I appreciate you pushing that on your socials as well, Becky. And anybody else out there, if you can't donate money, please go check them out and share to your socials, and share to people that you think might be able to donate.
Well, I tell you what, every year my dad, stepmom, we decided once we all siblings, step siblings and whatnot got old enough, we were not going to spend money on each other for gifts, that we would each family would pick a charity and donate to, and then share with the family what that charity was and what that charity does. And it's been really cool throughout the years to see all the different charities that each family picks. And I am going to pick Robin's charity this year and donate, and I will share that information with the family and see if we can't get spread the word a little bit more.
Well, I appreciate that, Becky. That's very sweet. And the bonus is that not only will be giving to a great cause, but much like with my family, it will also piss off a certain segment of people in your life. Right.
Anyway. So I can be heard on Adrenaline Cinema podcast, Panels to Pixels podcast, and here on What's on Tonight podcast. Only recommendation I have this week is Penny and Kara are finally back with Still Slaying, a Buffyverse podcast, and they're resuming their rewatch of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. They're going to begin covering season 4 next week, and I can't wait. I've missed them so much. I want to give a huge thank you to Mark and Pirate Corp Entertainment for giving us this platform and everything that he does to keep us going. I am very excited to say that we will have some special guests for our episode next week, and Mark is going to be one of them. So you guys will finally get the chance to hear Mark and I guess kind of meet Mark, learn more about what he's got. I'm going to keep the other guest a surprise. This is going to be epic.
You'll kind of meet Mark.
Kind of, yeah. Anyway, please visit the Pirate Corp website. It can be found on our Facebook page, and there you can find our podcast as well as other podcasts like the Slay Lounge podcast with Billy and Will. They're taking a little break right now for the holiday, but they will have new content coming out soon. And I'm very excited to talk about Mark's project that he's been working on, a Pirate Corps music podcast. And it is official that it will be coming in January of 2025. It's where he's going to have different people on each episode to talk about either a favorite artist or a specific album. I'm very excited. It's not something that there's a lot of on podcast, and I think it's going to be great. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. This wraps up our coverage of episode 10 of the final season of What We Do in the Shadows. Makes me sad every time I say it.
I hate it. Well, thank everyone for listening. I am a very sad Becky.
And I am still a very pedantic Mandy.
We will catch you next week when we grab the remote and see what's on tonight. Bye.